Well, is there anything, because of the legal stuff, is there anything off, like we can't, like you don't want us to talk about? Because I don't know what your legal...
I'm not allowed to talk about what Jessie J said in her deposition, which I wish I could, because it was pretty revealing. And I'm also not allowed to talk about her contracts with Dr. Luke, which I also wish I could. But other stuff is totally cool.
Okay, awesome. I'm just going to start like we just started the interview.
Just pretend.
Yeah, pretend, yeah. Will, thank you so much for being on Who Stole What with us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before we talk about the actual steal, can you just give us some background for like where Loomis and the Lusts was like in the music industry when this whole situation happened? Were you guys on a label? Were you guys independent?
Yeah, absolutely. We were an independent band. We sort of reached our peak around 2010. Santa Barbara band, but we did some national touring. We got some videos on MTV, specifically our video Bright Red Chords. That was our single.
Right.
And, we won contests and Battle of the Bands, promotion. We even got in Billboard magazine. And we were working on our second EP, Space Camp, in early 2010 at the same time that Katy Perry and two of the writers of Domino, Dr. Luke and Max Martin, were working in Santa Barbara at Playback Studio. She cherry-picked my guitar player, Casey.
Yeah.
Which was okay. Like, I was happy for him to get a better gig. Later, we had a falling out, but what happened was a week after Casey left my band to join Katy Perry's band, I got an email from the former vice president of A&R at Universal, Sonny L. Lee. And I posted this email on my Facebook. Basically, the email said, I love Bright Red Chords. Can you send me an MP3 of that? What are your plans for radio play? Do you have management? That kind of thing. We said, no, we got limited radio play right now. We don't have management.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, cool, thanks. That's the last I heard from her. And I didn't think anything of it until like a year or two later. I got an email from this kid named Michael Sportelli in Albany, New York. And what happened was he found our CD in a bargain bin at his record store, and he became a fan. And he sent me an email. He said, just want you to know there's this pop star in the UK named Jessie J that's ripping off your song Bright Red Chords.
Wow, so you found out about it like from a fan, like you actually had wow.
Yeah, exactly. I listen to XM radio, and I don't listen to a lot of like the modern pop, so I probably never would have heard it had this kid that I'd never met before not found it in his bargain bin.
Yeah. When you heard it, what was your initial reaction? Did you put it together like right away? I mean, what did you do?
I was kind of shocked. I was sort of stunned, and I played it for some friends. They were all like, dude, you got it.
Well, I mean, the steal is like almost overwhelming when you hear it. It's like the same song.
Yeah, and the verses, and even some of the lyrics, like in the second verse, I think they got lazy and ripping me off because they even had some of the words the same. Like two of the words, like the rhyming couplets at the end were the same words. So I was going to MI, Musicians Institute, and I was studying music production engineering, and they have a music business program where there's free office hours. So you can go speak to a lawyer for free there. Like, so I walked over to the music business department, showed it to this lawyer. Her name's Burgundy Morgan, and she showed it to her boss. He showed it to his boss, and then I got lawyers on contingency because I had copyrighted this song in 2008. So I would recommend everybody copyright their song with the U.S. Copyright Office, because if you do that, you can get lawyers on contingency, because if you win, then they will get awarded their attorney's fees from the other side.
So when you say you copyright, is that like sending your CD or whatever your media is into, like you actually mail it?
Yeah, you fill out something called a SR form, a sound recording form, with the U.S. Copyright Office. So that's what I did. What happened next was Universal had this really kind of bullying legal team, and they convinced my contingency lawyers that they were going to win in a motion for summary judgment. And that's when they basically tell the judge, listen, this case has no merit, kick it out before it even gets to trial. They convinced my guys that they were going to win at that. My contingency lawyers thought it was a slam dunk, so they were willing to take it on and just do minimal kind of effort and just expect Universal to settle. Universal took this approach of like, there's nothing similar. So that was a very aggressive tactic, but it worked for them. But this was interesting. They sent me something that said, we'll give you $10,000 if you sign a document saying that it was a total coincidence that these songs are similar. And I said, I'm not going to sign that because it's not true. But, most musicians are broke. Most bands are, touring and sleeping in their car. How these guys, Dr. Luke, and how Universal can rip off independent bands. Example, band Asphalt. Like Dr.
Right.
Luke, Daughtry, was he on The Voice?
No, he's Idol.
So yeah, Dr. Luke wrote this song for Daughtry by ripping off this band Asphalt, and it's literally the same chorus and same lyrics and the same melody. So he just took an entire chorus and ripped it off. I think he got him to settle using one of these 10.
It's amazing. It's amazing that they offered like 10 grand. I would have been like almost like insulted by that. I mean,
totally, because the song that had like my melody, Domino, that grossed, according to like a couple websites, like $11 million.
Yeah,
right. I know.
It's
crazy. I mean, it sounds very just like I'm an aggressive lawyer. Do you think that's because they think it's just cheaper to try to buy people off? I mean, do you have any insight? Because this has happened a lot of times.
Yeah, my insight, because I've sort of had to become into this, my insight is that this stuff's always happened, but there's an epidemic right now, mainly because of Dr. Luke. And if you look at his career, it's just full of lawsuits every year and just blatant rips, like the Asphalt one I mentioned, but also he stole from the Rubinoos. He took the entire chorus. I made a mashup of that.
Yeah, the hey, you, I don't want everything.
I want to be your boyfriend. Yeah, so, and then there's other ones like Kesha's TikTok was taken from Chrissy's My Slushy. Dr. Luke was giving some talk at like ASCAP or something where he was even caught admitting that he heard this other song that influenced him on that, and I put that at the end of my mashup. But actually, the Universal thing gets worse. So they win, and I'm appealing the decision, but they won, and they said, if you don't sign this $10,000 thing saying it was a coincidence that they're similar, we're going to come after you with our attorney's fees, which were upwards of like $450,000. Crazy number, which would obviously bankrupt me. They knew they weren't going to get their money. That was like the muscle behind their threat to sign this document. 2 weeks ago or something, I posed the motion, and they're not going to get that. But that shows you like the threats. And then by posting stuff on Facebook, I've already gotten a threat from Christine Limpara through Dr. Luke saying, if you don't take this stuff down off your Facebook page, we're going to sue you. And I didn't take it down. That was like months ago. So
when we did the Voice thing, we actually had to sign like probably each of us 100 pages worth of documents with the Universal.
It seems like pretty standard operating procedure with any of these sort of large. Yeah, that they're just gonna straight up bully you. Yeah, you posted a thing on Facebook about Yeah, because we have a personal connection with that. Could you just maybe go through what you said there, because it really is sort of telling about what's happening in the music industry right now.
Okay, well, I heard from someone, and I won't say who, that Scott got his start on his own because Taylor Swift's dad gave him $3 million, and now he won't even work with a new artist unless they give him $1 million.
Jeez. If anybody doesn't know, Big Machine Records is like the record label of like Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw's on that label, the band Perry, Rascal Flatts, and there's only like 15 listed on their website, but other people on that are like Raylan, who is a girl who's on The Voice with us, and we know because we know her personally that she's a millionaire from Texas. Like, I mean, her parents are.
Right.
So it's fairly obvious that you kind of are.
It's a pay-to-play thing.
Right, exactly. It feels it feels like pay-to-play, exactly.
It absolutely is, and I think it's in part because people aren't buying music as much anymore. Instead of the record company footing the bill, you have to be independently wealthy because you have to pay for a lot of your own promotion and distribution and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But there's these big boys at the top that sort of have a monopoly. Clive Davis, and then underneath him it's like Dr. Luke and Scott Borchetta, and then on down. I would say this as far as copyright infringement goes, the main sort of perp, like the culprit in the last 7 years is just Dr. Luke over and over and over again.
Yeah, we like were doing a podcast. We literally were talking about two different steals, and we didn't even realize that it was both Dr. Luke. We in the moment figured it out. Like, we were like, wait a minute, Lucas Scott, I know that guy, that's Dr. Luke. So like, I mean, it's really, I don't know, I mean, do you think that that's just an accepted strategy now? I mean, like, for example, One Direction's new album, basically 3 or 4 of their hits are all like just derivative of
like big super like
super
pour some
famous
sugar on me. I mean, or like Bubba O'Reilly,
yeah,
something
and
like that.
It's just so obvious. I mean, do you think that we've gotten to a point where it's like if it's pop, it's gonna be stolen? What do you think? I think
it's a combination of two things. I think it's mainly that Dr. Luke has very little talent when it comes to songwriting and coming up with melody and stuff. And then the other thing is, I think there may be some influence of his background as a DJ delay, and he's used to sampling large chunks of things. And then I guess there's a third thing, which is like a lack of ethics. Like that guy is just unethical the way he operates.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's funny you mentioned, because I was reading Butch Walker's one of his books, and he doesn't name Dr. Luke, but he's like, I'm going to use the name Larry instead of Dr. Luke. He talks about his method in the studio. And according to Butch Walker, if Larry is in fact Dr. Luke, he came up sort of underneath Max Martin's wing as like the guy that made beats for Max Martin and helped Max Martin with technical stuff of putting together beats, and then branched out on his own. And that Dr. Luke has this nasty habit of chopping up old songs, looping them, like literally just stealing entire choruses like we talked about.
Yeah.
So,
like a DJ method, but a really like a cheap, sneaky way.
but I hate to put that all on DJs, man.
You're right. Yeah, sorry.
That's true. Yeah. It's not a DJ method. I mean, we talked about Zeppelin we've talked about like Led Zeppelin doing the same sort of thing with a lot of.
I listened to that podcast. Yeah, not only did they tour with Spirit, but they also covered one of Spirit's songs.
Oh, really?
In their set list. Yeah.
Just to circle back around, I mean, because I don't want to make it all about Max Martin. We want to make the interview about you. I mean, because you actually wrote the song. So, like, how did you start when your writing process? Was it just sitting down with a guitar, or for Bright Record specifically? But
I had the, as far as I remember, I had the melody first. I think it was a chorus melody first. I'm good at like happy, catchy melodies, so I had this ba 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 na da da na na na.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just started putting lyrics together, and eventually I think I had the melody and some of the lyrics, and then slapped some chords together, and that was it.
It just works, just fit, just like really, like I can hear why he stole from you, because like it's just really brilliantly written, I thought.
Do you think? I mean, did you ever consider that this could happen at all, or was it on your radar, like, oh, I should be careful about this, or was it like a complete surprise?
Remember how I mentioned when Casey left my band to join Katy Perry's band? First, it was on good terms. I was like, wow, that's great for you. I mean, it sucks for me, but that's awesome. And we stayed in touch. We were texted. He would give me updates and touring. It was sort of exciting for both of us because it was like he hit the big time, which is what we all kind of wanted to do. But I had a falling out with him because there were some elements, and I don't want to get into it, but there were some things, like ideas, things that I was kind of working on, I felt like he might have shared with the other side, but I can't prove any of that, and I don't want to get into that kind of stuff. So I had an inkling that, like, okay, that was shitty. But as far as like knowing about Dr. Luke and Max Martin having like all this monopoly and all this, especially history of ripping people off or writing for someone in the UK, I never imagined. So I thought the UK, they'll be working mainly with UK producers, and when the case broke, they filed it in Newport Beach. I'm from Santa Barbara, so the headlines just read, Newport Beach man Will Loomis accuses famous singer Jessie J of ripping off his song, and it's, who the fuck is this guy? So that connection of the fact that we were working in the same studio in February of 2010 in Santa Barbara, worked with my guitar player, and he's played a show with Katy Perry and Jessie J and all this stuff. That connection wasn't there, and I have this other friend who's no longer a friend because he works with Bonnie McKee, and he works with Max Martin. And he used to, his name's Sean Walsh, and he used to be like engineer / roadie for Loomis and the Lust, and then he went on to work at Pulse Recording Studio, which is where Dr. Luke and Bonnie McKee work. For the last 4 years, he's been Bonnie McKee's right-hand man, and she's written at least 17 songs with Dr. Luke in the last 4 years.
Yeah, like I know she's written for Britney a lot, I think, right? Britney Spears.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about, hypocrisy when it comes to artists pretending like they didn't buy in, I read this article that was like Katy Perry and Bonnie McKee were like, we met in a thrift store because we were so poor, we were selling our clothes, and we were like starving artists and all this stuff. That's such bullshit. Like, I don't know Bonnie McKee's history, but I got a pretty good guess. And I know that Katy Perry, her parents own a bunch of stock in the Brat Food Company, and they live in a huge mansion in Santa Barbara. She went to Pueblos High School, and my friend of mine like dated her in high school. Like, I know that's bullshit. They're wealthy. So
why do you think they feel like they have to do that?
Well, it's a nice story. It's a nice rags to riches story, What they'll do, and this is a common trick. Let's say hypothetically, okay, I'm some new pop star and I'm on The Voice. I get in with Clive Davis, Scott Borchetta. My parents give them $1 million, $2 million, whatever. We're all set, and you're gonna break me as an overnight sensation. Force feed me to the public. What they'll do is they'll tack that person's name onto an existing star's song. You know, a Miley Cyrus song or a Kelly Clarkson single. They'll just tack my no name on there as like 5th or 6th songwriter. What that does is that when you break that artist and everyone's like, who the fuck is this? It's like, oh, she used to write for Miley Cyrus or she used to write for Kelly Clarkson, and that gives her some kind of street credit, like she worked her way up. But it's bullshit. But that's their MO, and they do that every time, almost every time.
That's so crazy to think about, that they would they give them legitimacy by literally just putting their name on.
You gotta wonder why you see like I posted this thing on Facebook the other day of like Bohemian Rhapsody had 1 writer and 1 producer.
Yeah.
Beyonce song had like 6 writers and 5 producers or something like that. Like you see that more and more. So all these like Dr. Luke, Max Martin songs, for example, they all have like multiple writers. Domino had 5 writers. You know.
And you should have been one of them.
Yeah, you were not even listed among them. That's the reality. It's more of a political thing than who actually wrote the song.
It's gotten so weird. Yeah. Broken.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a bad system.
So do you think it's like a system problem, like the system should change, or?
Well, I can tell you who suffers from the system. The young people that don't know about music from the 70s or the 60s, or, you know, cool music from the 80s, like the people that don't know about even cool grunge music from the 90s. Dick Clark on American Bandstand said that music's a soundtrack to our lives. It's like, we're depriving young people of a good soundtrack to their lives. I mean, they have to come up listening to what? To Dr. Luke's, you know, bullshit? Like, it's like a...
Yeah. No, that's what we
bad.
We were talking
about... that's enough to, like, turn a kid off music unless their parents have a record collection or something, you know?
Well, that's what we were talking about with like, the One Direction thing, is, like, basically we're just going to steal these songs that kids have never heard before and make sort of crappy pop versions of them that don't talk about...
it's awful.
You know, I mean, and that's, like... That seems to be just the common thing now for pop.
You know, I knew one of the writers for One Direction, Sam Hollander and Sluggo, and he was a fan of Bright Red Chords, and I met with him a couple times, and we talked about working together. As soon as I got that email from Michael Sportelli, I said, hey, Sam, what do you think about this? Like, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah.
He stopped talking to me.
Really?
It just goes to show, like...
Yeah, power.
I mean, I get it, because he's, you know, Universal. He works with them a lot. He works with Dr. Luke and Max Martin, but... still, it's pretty shitty.
Yeah, it's just crazy too. Like, public doesn't really know. I mean, they're like A&R. Like, A&R doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Yeah, the A&R used to be a big department at any label, and now it's like sort of an entry level joke position.
Yeah.
Because labels have shrunk, cut their A&R departments. Like we were talking about earlier, the talent comes to the label with the money instead of the other way around.
Okay. Well, just so we can circle back around again. Like, what are you up to now? Is there anything you want to plug or anything like that?
Not really. I put down Loomis and Lust for a little while, and because I want to do something different, and as soon as this case is over, I'll probably pick it back up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. This is great, and you're doing the Lord's work here.
Thank you so much for talking to us, and you know, it's rare that we get an insight into the actual.
Like somebody who this actually happened to. You know, we talk about this stuff so much, but
and we're continuing.